The most important part of Doriane Pin's Mercedes test was not the speed, it was the timing. Because when Mercedes put her inside the W12 at Silverstone, they were not just giving a young driver a dream day. They were testing a question Formula One has avoided for years. What happens when a woman is not just inspiring, but actually close enough to be evaluated seriously? 76 laps, 200 kilometers, one championship-winning Mercedes, and one rulebook that could decide how far this story really goes. This is where Doriane Pin's F1 dream becomes more than a headline. It becomes a countdown. Welcome back to Gridline F1 News. The most important part of Doriane Pin's Mercedes test was not the noise. It was not the photos. It was not even the history. The real story was hidden in what Mercedes chose to do. They placed her inside the W12. Not a show car, not a soft promotional moment. A real Mercedes Formula One machine from one of the most intense eras in modern F1. And that changes the meaning of everything. Because this was not simply about giving Doriane Pin a memory. This looked like Mercedes quietly asking a much bigger question. Can she be prepared for the next step? And if the answer is yes, how quickly can the rules allow it? At Silverstone, Doriane Pin did something very few drivers ever get to experience. She drove a Mercedes Formula One car, not just any Mercedes. The W12, the car from Mercedes' 2021 Constructors' Championship season. A car connected to one of the most dramatic seasons Formula One has ever seen. For most drivers, stepping into a Formula One car for the first time is a shock. The braking force is brutal, the steering is heavy, the speed arrives before your brain has time to process it, and every input matters. Throttle, brake, steering, energy deployment, radio feedback, tire temperature. Everything has to happen at a level normal racing categories cannot fully prepare you for. That is why this test matters. Because Doriane Pin completed 76 laps and around 200 kilometers of running. That is not a symbolic lap. That is a serious day of work. And this is where Mercedes' reaction becomes important. Formula One teams do not get impressed by emotion. They get impressed by control. They get impressed by feedback. They get impressed by consistency. A driver can look good on camera, but inside an F1 garage, the only thing that really matters is data. How clean are the inputs? How quickly does the driver adapt? Can the driver understand the procedures? Can the driver explain what the car is doing? Can the engineers trust the feedback? That is why Doriane Pin's test was bigger than a milestone. It was an evaluation. A quiet one. But still, an evaluation. And Mercedes would not waste that kind of running unless they believed there was something worth developing. But here is the part fans need to understand. Driving an F1 car in a test is one thing. Being eligible for official Formula One sessions is another thing completely. Because Formula One is not just about talent. It is about timing. It is about points. It is about the FIA Super License System. For a full Formula One race seat, the famous number is 40 Super License points. But for official FP1 running, the pathway is different. A free practice-only Super License can involve a 25-point threshold, depending on FIA criteria. And that creates the real tension around Doriane Pin, because Mercedes can prepare her. Mercedes can test her. Mercedes can build her confidence in the simulator. But the rulebook still has to open the door. This is why her career path suddenly becomes very interesting. Doriane Pin is not only connected to F1 Academy, she is also racing in endurance competition. She is part of Duquesne Team's ELMSLMP2 Pro-Am program. And that matters because championship results outside traditional single-seaters can still become part of a super license calculation. So this is not just one story, it is a strategy. F1 Academy gives her one part of the pathway. Endurance racing can give her another part. Mercedes testing gives her experience. Simulator work gives her preparation. And if the points line up correctly, FP1 could become the next serious step. That is why Silverstone was not the end of the story. It may have been the beginning of the plan, but there is pressure, a lot of pressure, because super license points do not last forever. The FIA looks at recent results inside specific time windows. That means a driver cannot simply collect achievements forever and use them whenever they want. The timing has to work, the seasons have to line up, the results have to arrive before the window closes. And that is what makes Doriane Pin's situation so dramatic. She is not just racing other drivers, she is racing the calendar. Every podium matters. Every championship position matters. Every penalty matters. Every kilometer matters. Because in Formula One, sometimes the difference between being ready and being allowed is not talent. It is paperwork. And there is another detail that makes this even more important. If a driver gets the chance to run in official FP1 sessions and completes enough distance without penalty issues, that can also help build more super license momentum. So the pathway can become a chain reaction. A test leads to preparation. Preparation leads to eligibility. Eligibility leads to FP1. FP1 leads to more points. More points create more opportunity. That is how modern driver development works. It is not one magical jump into Formula One. It is a sequence. And Mercedes may now be trying to build that sequence around Doriane Pin. But beyond the numbers, Silverstone changed something emotionally too. For years, women have been near Formula One, in academies, in development roles, in media stories, in future planning conversations, but rarely this close to the machinery, rarely inside a Mercedes F1 car, rarely with this level of seriousness. That is why this moment feels different. Not because it guarantees a race seat, it does not. Not because one test solves the problem, it does not. But because it moves the conversation from inspiration to evaluation. And that is a much more serious place to be. Doriane Pin now has something very powerful. She has proof of experience. She has Mercedes support. She has F1 Academy credibility. She has endurance racing mileage. And now she has Formula One machinery behind her name. But she also has a challenge. The points must come. The timing must work. The opportunities must appear. And Mercedes must decide how far they want to push this project. Because if this is only a historic test, then it will be remembered as a beautiful moment. But if this is the first step in a bigger plan, then Formula One may be watching something far more important. The beginning of a real pathway. So the question is no longer simple. It is not just, can Doriane Pin drive an F1 car? She has already done that. The better question is this. Can she turn this moment into official Formula One mileage? Can Mercedes turn preparation into opportunity? And can the FIA points system allow the timing to work before the window closes? Because after Silverstone, one thing is clear. This story is no longer just about history. It is about the clock. And right now, the clock has started. This is Gridline F1 News. Tell me in the comments. Do you think Mercedes should give Doriane Pin an FP1 opportunity if she becomes eligible? And subscribe for more deep Formula One stories that most fans miss, because the next hidden battle inside Formula One may not be about who wins the championship. It may be about who gets close enough to the grid before the clock runs out.